here we go. Let's do another live Q&A. I am going to preface this with a lot of these questions that I'm going to cover today are things that I go into really deep dives with my students in paid course, in mentoring, and in things like that. So I'm going to brush the surface a little bit. I'm definitely going to leave you with valuable steps. Okay, so this is not going to be fluff. This is going to be things that you can actually do and take away, but I'm not going to go into the whole deep thing because that would take away from what I give my students, right? I know you understand that. So just a brief introduction in case you don't know who I am. My name is Sabrina Gebhart. Did I forget my last name? I'm a lifestyle photographer here in Fort Worth, Texas. I've been in business for almost 11 years. I'm an educator, a course creator. I mentor. I can say, am a conference speaker. I spoke at my first conference last month. So I go live here most Thursdays and do Q&A. All the questions that I'm going to cover today were asked by you guys. So thank you for being here. And before I forget, in case I forget to mention this at the end, if this is valuable to you, when it shares to Instagram TV, will you share it to your stories and tag me? I love to know that it was valuable and that you learned a lot, and it really means a lot to me. So let's dive in. What are some content pillars for photographers? Content pillars, first of all, if you don't know what that is some rotating themes that you try and focus on every time you are on the internet. Okay, whether it be a blog post, social media, your newsletter, any of that. So generally you want to stick to 5-ish content pillars, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more. Any more than that and it starts to feel really like just kind of all over the place. But here's the thing, content pillars can be literally anything. And I want to remind you, and I talk about this a lot, but the internet is about community. Sure, you can go get, research stuff and get ideas or whatever, but especially when you look at social media, it is a community building experience. Okay, you want to be building relationships. This is how you get clients, is building relationships. And so to build relationships, it's having a conversation, right? You go to a dinner party and you meet another mom friend and you guys are laughing and chatting over all these things, all these common threads. Growing your business, growing your social media following with ideal clients, content pillars, all of this is the same thing. What are the common threads you have with your ideal clients? Okay, sure, there's probably the obvious one. Maybe you're a mom and you want to photograph moms. Cool, motherhood could be a content pillar, okay? But think outside of the box. Do you love to read books? And maybe a lot of your ideal clients love books too. Maybe you talk about books once a week. Okay, are you a foodie? Are your ideal clients foodies? Maybe you talk about that. Gardening, music, travel. I mean, anything. Your content pillars can be unique to you and your ideal client, whatever fits. Okay, and if you maybe you live in a small town, okay, and there's not as many families or potential clients out there. So maybe your content pillars then are a little bit more broad, right? Fun things to do with kids in your area, the best road trips you've taken from your area, dogs, neighborhood dogs and dog stories, motherhood stories, and that's it, okay? But really, I want you to get smaller than that, okay? For most of us, we live in big enough cities or have a big enough circle of people, radius around us, that you can really get super specific. And the content pillars can be anything, okay? They really can be anything. And I would really encourage you to go outside of the photography box. Yes, for sure, one content pillar could be photographing families, okay? But move on from that because that's boring. If all you're gonna talk about is photographing families, photographing babies, photographing da-da-da-da-da, I mean, that gets boring. People wanna know you. Okay, they want to have a connection point with you. So your content pillars need to be something that they can connect over. For me personally, travel is one of my content pillars. Motherhood stories is one of my content pillars. Families, my experience with babies. So that can be a lot of times it's stories about my babies or personal stories for my clients' babies. And then education is one. Obviously, you're here. I talk about education stuff a lot and my connection with educating photographers. So those are kind of broad, but within those, I mean, when you watch my Instagram stories, like all kinds of stuff comes up. So it's important to have some content pillars, but I wouldn't get so worked up and focused on them that you can't find a way to talk about something that you want to talk about, okay? If you love to read, do a book review every month or a book review every other week or however quick you get through a book. So hopefully that makes sense on content pillars, okay? Just they are connection points between you and your ideal clients, and they can be anything. And as a side note, and just a reminder while we're talking about Instagram and what you're sharing, what you talk about in the caption 100% does not need to match the image, okay? So if that's what you are hung up on, if you're like, well, I think a content pillar could be, foodie stuff because I'm a foodie and a lot of my clients are foodies, but I don't take food images. So how does that work? Doesn't matter. Share family pictures, share baby pictures, whatever it is that you photograph. And then in the caption, you talk about food stuff, your favorite recipe you did lately, or favorite restaurant you went to lately, or the best margarita you ever had, or all of that stuff, okay? Or how to track expenses, tips, and tools. So there are a million apps, websites, things, ways that you can track your business income and expenses, okay? All that matters is that you find what works for you and you do it, okay? So that's the big thing. And if you have been looking for a while and you haven't found something that works for you, here's what I would recommend. Hire a CPA that does it for you, okay? If you know that this has been a sticking point for you and you haven't been able to stay on top of it, or you've always failed and felt super disorganized, or maybe at the beginning of the year you start and then you drop off, just hire someone and let them do it for you full time. Having a CPA is not expensive. Okay, I pay $90 a month and I literally do not touch any of my business expenses, nor do we file our own taxes. Okay, the CPA at the first week of every month, I send him all of my statements, Stripe, PayPal, my business credit card, my business checking account, my business savings account. I send him everything. He organizes it. He organizes it into what type of expenses and, what's a write-off and what's not, and what do I have to pay sales tax on and what do I not, and blah, 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 blah. Does all of that. Sends me a report, files my state sales taxes for me, gets it ready to automatically pull out. Literally, I don't do anything, okay? Every once in a while, he'll have a question about some new expense or some new person I've hired or worked with, like, where does this fall? And he needs help categorizing it. But literally, I spend 20 minutes a month on my business tracking because and that literally is me running the reports and emailing them over, and that's it. Okay, and then at the end of the year, because he's done all of this organizing on a monthly basis, it takes 2 seconds for my taxes to be ready and we're done. Okay, so and let me also say, I pay $90 a month because my husband also owns a small business. Okay, before, my husband, when he was employed by an employer and had like a traditional whatever, it was $75 a month. Okay, so just I want you to realize hiring a CPA to work for you full time to do all of your stuff is not expensive. So if you've had that story in your head for a long time that it's expensive and you have to DIY it and you're struggling, stop it. Hire somebody, pay them, and move on, okay? But if you really do want to do it yourself, you really want your hands in there, you really want to take control of that yourself, that's fine. Obviously, there's QuickBooks. That is a beast. You really need to take a class or read QuickBooks for Dummies, okay? That is not just to jump in and do it. There is a process to that. And the key to success with QuickBooks is you have to stay on top of it. Okay, so if you're the type of person that cannot do it on a weekly basis, like get in there on Fridays and update all your week, it's not going to work for you. Okay, if you've got a CRM, a lot of the bigger CRMs like Dubsado, you can do income and expenses inside of there. I am a Dubsado user. I do not use that feature, so I cannot speak to that myself. I'm sure it's similar to QuickBooks in that you have to stay on top of it or it's a hard fail. I mean, that's the key to success for any of these systems. If you don't stay on top of it, you're going to be drowning in figuring things out. Okay. There are also, you can also just use a traditional Google Sheet or Excel spreadsheet. Again, you have to get in there and touch it all the time so that it stays accurate. And then I know that there are some apps. I don't know the names of any of them. If anybody here knows off the top of your head any of these apps I'm talking about, drop them in the comments. But I have heard friends talk about apps where it's literally like you take a photo of the receipt and then it like categorizes it for you. And it's almost like, it sounds almost like QuickBooks on your phone, except it's like you're digitally taking photos of receipts and then filing, and then it's like filing it for you in an app. I know this exists. I don't know what it's called. So maybe look into that. But again, I am a huge advocate for just hire someone. Okay. I don't care if you are brand new in business or you have been in business 10 years. If keeping track of your financials is a struggle for you, then offload it. It is not expensive. It is not expensive. And the peace of mind you get is freaking insane. Okay. Just hire someone, my friends. Okay. We are going to talk about how to build your email list with local potential clients. So you need to create a freebie and it needs to be something people want. Okay. So what is a freebie? A freebie can be literally anything. It can be an audio recording. It can be a video recording. It can be a PDF. It can be a coupon code. It can be a recipe. It can be a gift guide that like you really highlight special secret stuff. It can be a list of coupon codes to local vendors. It can be whatever the heck you want. There is no right or wrong. Just because 20 photographers in your area have a what to wear freebie guide does not mean that you need one too, okay? In fact, I would encourage you to come up with something outside of the box that's different, okay? It needs to be something of value, but it needs to not cost you anything or very, very little, okay? So think about who your ideal client is and what they want, okay? If your ideal client is first time expecting parents, okay, because you want to do hospital sessions and births, then maybe your freebie is a list of area doulas or OB-GYNs who are fantastic, and then it's got a coupon code on the bottom for XYZ from the #1 baby shop in town, okay? Or maybe it's an awesome insider's like what to pack in your hospital bag, and then there's like coupon code links to stuff. Or maybe it's, book your birth session with me. Here's your how to prep guide. And then you include, 5% off or whatever. Okay. It can literally, you have to think about who your ideal client is and what is something they would actually want. It takes a lot for us to give up our email addresses because they are all completely slammed and overflowing with garbage. Okay. Why should I give you my email address? What's in it for me? Okay. So you have to create something that is going to be buzzworthy that they actually want, and it needs to line up with your ideal client, okay? You can also create something new every month or every other month or whatever. Again, it does not have to be this insane, amazing, huge thing. It just has to be something they want, okay? So you're gonna create this freebie, whatever it is, and then you are going to set up a funnel through your email provider. So probably Flowdesk is my top recommendation because it's the easiest. You're going to set up this funnel for them to drop in their email address into a form that you've created. Their email address is going to get batched into your email list, and then they will automatically be sent whatever the freebie is that you created. So you're not doing any work, okay? Creating a freebie and growing your email list is not about like, hey, can I have your email list? Will you DM it to me and then I'll put it on my list? Okay, cool, thanks. You're not doing any work. You're doing all the work up front, and then you're gonna sit back and watch those emails roll in, okay? So after you've created the freebie, whatever it is, you've set up the email funnel through Flowdesk or another email provider so that it automatically collects the email and sends out the freebie. At that point, you just gotta talk about it. You got to get on Instagram and talk about your freebie. You got to talk about it in captions. You got to talk about it in stories. You got to talk about it in reels. You got to talk about it all the time. You got to talk about it on Facebook. You got to talk about it in a blog post. You got to link that thing and talk about that thing all the time. Okay? It will get there. slow and steady. The more popular of an idea it is, the better it's going to go and the more you're going to get. Okay. So, but if you don't talk about it, people aren't going to sign up for it. Okay. I would also encourage you to write several blog posts around the theme of your freebie. And then at the bottom of the blog post, drop in that form where, say, hey, if you liked this, you'd probably be interested in my freebie XYZ. Drop your email here and it'll be sent straight to your email box. Okay. Something like that where you have blog posts, multiple pages on your website pinging back to the same form, that makes SEO happy. Okay, that makes Google happy. That's going to help your freebie show up to people who are just randomly searching on the internet. Okay, so that's how you're going to get names. The key really is to create something that your ideal client wants and think outside of the box. We do not need another what to wear guide. Okay, so just think outside of the box about where they live, where they spend their time and spend their money, what stage of life are they in, what might they be interested in. And it might take you a few tries to land on something that actually brings in new clients, actually brings in new names that people are actually downloading, and that's okay. Okay, don't get stuck on the first thing has to be perfect, and if it's not great, I'm just throwing in the towel and we're not doing this anymore. Don't get stuck on that. Okay, it can literally be anything. If you've got ideas and you want to send them to me in a DM and bounce them back and forth, I would love that. Coming up with freebies is really fun for me, so I'm happy to help more if you want to chat. Okay, last question for today. I need help finding my ideal client and then getting them to actually follow and connect with me. So I have talked about this before many times. If you've been here a while, you've probably heard this whole thing. You probably know exactly what I'm going to say. And just like I said at the top of this chat, I'm not going to go super, super deep into this because this is something that I do go really deep into in my course, The Organized Photographer. Again, you can get on the wait list at the link in my profile if you're interested. It will run again in January. But here's what I want you to know. Just like I've said multiple times through multiple questions just today, where are they? Okay, so if you're telling me that you live in, Fort Worth, Texas, where I live, and your ideal client is moms with young families, okay, cool, but you need to narrow it down because there are a zillion different types of moms and a zillion different types of young families in Fort Worth, Texas. That's not small enough, okay? What are they interested in? What zip codes do they live in? What's their income bracket? Based on your pricing, can they afford you or not? What kind of clothing do they show up to your session in? What are their personalities like? Are they super touchy-feely or are they like outdoorsy? Like what's their jam? Where are they eating out? Where are they shopping? What coffee shops are they going to? You need to really get into their head so that you can find them. Okay? I can find a mom of a young family literally everywhere. Grocery store, gas station, at the park, at the school. That does not mean they're all my ideal clients. They don't all want the same thing that I want, right? A lot of them want traditional portraits. A lot of them don't want pictures at all. A lot of them don't value photography and don't want to put their money into that. I don't want those people. I want different people, okay? So you have to know who you want in order to know how to find them. Okay, so let's say you do have it narrowed down. You know where they spend their time, where they spend their money, who they socialize with, what's important to them. Now, two things, in person and in the internet. Okay, in person, I want you to go to those places. I want you to go to that cute local coffee shop and work for a day and take a photo and tag it. I want you to go to that boutique and talk to that store owner and spend a little bit of money there, take a photo and tag it. Okay, I want you to go to that same playground with your kids and take a photo and tag it. I want you to show up physically and then participate online with these locations and businesses because the algorithm will show you and show you to people who are interacting at the same places. Okay, so you know how you can be out at a restaurant with a girlfriend and she's like, hey, have you seen this new cool thing that's come out? And she'll mention it. And then like 2 hours later, you're at home scrolling Instagram and you see an ad for it. You know how the internet is real tricky like that and everybody's listening and hearing? The algorithm's the same way. Okay, if you start showing up and pinging all of these same businesses and locations that your ideal clients are, you are going to get recommended to them on the internet. Okay, your business is going to get shown to them. You are going to show up as suggested. You are going to show up on the search tab. You know how you hit search and like there's this whole page of stuff? Those are things that the algorithm thinks you want to see based on your interactions. You're going to show up there. Okay, so the other thing is that I want you to engage with all of those places online. Follow all of those local businesses. Follow all of those local hashtags and engage with them. It's not enough to just follow them, okay? Set a timer, 5 minutes a day. Go through and comment on all of them, like them, share the ones that are applicable. If there's a great children's boutique in town that like all of your ideal clients shop at and you're like, these are my people, these are the people I want, great. Engage with that boutique like crazy. Again, the algorithm is gonna say, oh, Jane Smith is engaging with this baby boutique, and these people are too. They need to be connected, and they're going to recommend, okay? So what does it mean when I say I want you to engage with these businesses online? So let's take this children's boutique, for example. They hop on Instagram today, and they're like, hey, we've got a last-minute BOGO sale of everything on our clearance rack, you know, and they start showing pictures of cute stuff that's still left. Share that to your stories and say, hey, Fort Worth, guess what? If you are shopping for your fall family sessions or your next summer's vacation, XYZ Kids Shop has got this great sale. Look how cute it is. And then tag the business. Okay? That goes a long way to finding your ideal clients, connecting with businesses within your ideal clients. Okay? That shows you to them on the internet. Okay, on social media and also on Google, because they are all connected, okay? So I hope that made a lot of sense. We covered a lot of stuff today, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. A couple of things. If you are not on my business newsletter, go to the link in my profile. It is called Lifestyle Lessons. I send out an email most Mondays, and it's just a short and sweet business inspiration and advice. It's got a few links for you if you want to, get more information on this or more information on this. Generally, I share a podcast episode or a blog post or a YouTube video that I thought was great that week. So get on that list because there's all kinds of good stuff there. There's so much free education on my website, on the blog, that people don't even know about, and I share a lot of that in the newsletter. The other thing is we talked a lot today about ideal clients and where to find them and how to communicate with them and all of that. All of that is like so much the core of my course, The Organized Photographer. Again, it is running again in January. The official launch will not be until the first week of January, but if you're on the wait list, you will hear about it around Black Friday. And there will probably be a discount code, and there's probably going to be an incentive to join early in an early bird rate. So if you have been on the fence about that, you've been thinking about it, you've heard about it, or maybe you're just now hearing about it for the first time and you're like, yep, need it, sold. Get on that list so that you don't miss out, okay? Thank you so much for being here. This was another great conversation. Again, if this was valuable to you, when I put it in Instagram in the feed, will you share it to your stories and tag me? I would love to know that it meant something to you and you learned something from it, okay? Bye now. Y'all have a good day.